Okay, anyway, what I'll do is I'll kind of cover how the Mountie Police get created, or why we have the Mountie Police, why we dress like this, what the Mounties do today, and basically a little bit of my career and what I do in retirement. Now, I have approximately 20 minutes time for the presentation and 120 years of history. So there's a good chance I'll miss a couple high points.
Ready, set, go!
Okay, we're on. She says, could we get this show on the road? Okay, wind your clocks back to 1867. Now, I want to make sure it's clear I was not in the force then. Okay. At that time, Canada declared itself an independent country. We got away from Great Britain. We were developing our country. The government said, we have to make this place grow. Let's get the people to move from the coast into the center part of the country. So everything went along tickety-boo until about 1873. By that time, there was a group of people who come into the country that were selling whiskey. They met up with a few people that liked drinking whiskey. They started shooting one another. The government said, this is not what we promised. We better straighten this out. We'll send somebody out for law and order. They thought first we better send out the army. No, we own the country. We'll send out a police force. And they created what was called the Northwest Mounted Police. Hired 200 young fellas. Gave them a gun, a horse, a uniform, no map, and said, go catch bad guys that way. Now when they sent us out, we started out in black boots, white pants. Now the white pants were going to last too long, but they did give us these bright red jackets, and we've hung on to them over the years. If you send a police force out where everybody's wearing brown and green, why did they send them out with bright red jackets? Any ideas?
Hides the blood when you get shot.
Who is this? But it's true. That's why the British picked it. A few years earlier, did they not? Did the British not have kind of a bit of a battle with you fellas down south there? And they found the red jacket really didn't work for camouflage, but it was good to have you feeling happy while your buddies are getting shot. I don't think our bosses picked that as a reason. Back in 1873, we had a problem that we've resolved today in Canada. When a police car comes into your neighborhood today on duty, what do you see on the roof? You see lights. You could not put lights on a horse in 1873. So you had to put a red jacket on the Mountie, so when you're looking out across all those brown, green, brown, green, brown, green, red, you knew there's a policeman in the area. Second reason they picked red was when we went west, a lot of the people we policed were our natives, our aboriginals. A lot of those people had come north out of the United States. At that time, they'd been fighting a pretty long war with the American Army. What color jackets did the American cavalry wear at that time? Blue. If we went out in a blue jacket, they'd say, we just fought a war with these characters. What makes you different? So they had to make sure we were visible and distinct. Also, and in that time, the government of Canada had a bit of a problem. There's a group of people who live south of Canada. You might have heard about them. They're Americans. You heard about those American characters? Anyway, these American characters went and bought Alaska. They went out and they bought Alaska. We have Canada stuck in the middle and then the rest of the United States. So they were looking north saying, there's nobody out there from Canada. Maybe they don't want it. So the red jacket allowed us to say, this is Canada, this is the federal government. So we hung on to it over the years. It's not a bad jacket in terms of that. Now, we had to do something with our hats. The first hat they sent us out with was what's called a pillbox cap. It's a little round thing that looks like a donut. Sits on the top of your head, and it comes from the British tradition for firing a cannon. You take the hat from here, you put it on this ear, you put your hand on this ear, and you fire your cannon. The theory is you will not go deaf. Back in those days, they didn't send the boys out with a cannon, and it was 40 below, so they were freezing in earmuffs. They sent a letter back to our bosses in Ottawa, said, we need a much better hat. They said, no problem, we'll fix that. And they sent us what's called a pith helmet. Has anybody ever seen one of them? What color?
White.
Now we're looking pretty sharp. Black boots, white pants, white hat. We are color coordinated. What's on the top of them things?
Spire.
Great big spike. So now you got a Mountie. Black boots, white pants, red jacket, white hat, spike chasing bad guys across the prairie. We look like unicorns. Not only that, as you're riding your horse across a bald prairie chasing bad guys, if you ride into a thunderstorm, what you not walk on the top of your head? Big spike. Health and safety reasons, another letter went back to Ottawa. This has got to change. Eventually they came down to the Stetson. It's not a bad hat. It's good in the sun. In the rain it melts around your ears and looks terrible, and it flies off the top of your head in the wind. But it was a heck of a lot better than the first two. We decided to hang on to the hat. We got rid of the black boots over a period of time. A fellow named Sam Brown was in charge of ordering stuff for the Mounted Police. You can bet what color Sam likes. We went to brown. We wanted to get rid of these white pants. So we looked south. We saw the American cavalry riding across their prairies chasing bad guys. They wear blue pants with a yellow stripe. We do not want to look like those characters, so we got blue pants, yellow stripe, with these nice hip-enhancing pockets. They're very good for riding horses, and I'm told that if I starched these and left out of that window, I would glide to the ground. However, I've never tried that. Okay. Around 1916 or 1900, a bunch of Mounties went south to the Boer War, part of a military function, did a bang-up job. The king of the day said, "You've done a good job. I really want to congratulate you." Dropped over to have tea with him. He said, "You're no longer the Northwest Mounted Police. I will call you the Royal Northwest Mounted Police," and gave us the blue bars. Uniform is now evolving to what you see today. 1916, the Mounties are chasing bad guys across the prairies, riding their horses as fast as they can. And what's the motto of the Mounties? Okay, we're going to touch on that one. That's not quite where it's at, but let's go with that. And in fact, in 1916, we were catching nobody. Well, why do you think that was happening? They were driving cars. So we had to get rid of the horses. So eventually the mounted police shifted from being a horse-driven to a mechanized police force. We're a fully modern force. We drive cars, snowmobiles, airplanes, whatever it takes to get to where we have to go quickly. We're shifting ahead quickly because we're out of time, right? 1920, okay. Government of Canada says we are now a mature country. We require a force for the whole country. They looked around at various models that had evolved and said those Royal Northwest guys are doing a bang-up job. Let's give them the country to police. So they no longer call us the Royal Northwest Mounted Police, and they call us the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and that's how we got our name and our shoulder flash. It says RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It also says GRC. Now what would that stand for? Yes? I like it. Not right, but I like it. Oh, down in this end. Okay, we have, yes. And what is your...
Gendarme Royal Canadian.
Who is this person?
Wrong, it's born and raised in BC.
What?
Bravo Road.
Okay, we've been through this tour before. Just a minute. Yes. Okay. Gendarme Royal du Canada, GRC, Gendarme Royal du Canada. Most people, when they look at that from Western Canada, say Gravel Road Cop. Anyway, this is the dress uniform of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. We do not wear this uniform in everyday policing. It is not very functional. It has no camouflage capability. You can't run in it. If I was a serving member, I'd have a 9mm pistol attached to it with a rope that goes from the pistol around your neck. Originally, a heck of a good idea when you're riding a horse, catching bad guys, the guns fall under your holder, you still have it. In a fight, where do you not want a rope? Around my neck. Okay, that doesn't work too well. This is a great handhold for somebody to drag you around. And if you're sneaking up on people that are shooting at you, and they sometimes do, brass buttons in the center of your chest is not a good plan for nighttime. So the uniform, we wear this when you have a talking postcard type duty. They want color rather than function. When we open Parliament, visiting dignitaries, the Queen, her entourage, and in this case, this is. Okay, so that's where you are. This is my uniform. I'm allowed to wear it for this type of event only, and only if it fits. So if I hit the floor, this is tight, rip off the buttons, pump the chest. Okay, 1920, any questions? Okay, we are the you want to know what a Mountie is? The Mountie is a federal police officer. We work at the same level as your FBI. We have jurisdiction throughout the country. We operate on 2 levels in Canada. We're a municipal police force in a town like Banff, because they hire us. And we're hired as a federal force, and we do the FBI function. So we have a dual function. We're the federal police force for Canada. Is that good? Okay. And as far as the mountains go, had to do with continents pushing together, rocks pushing up. That's the way down. I knew we'd get that one in there too. Okay. Yeah, in this case it kind of slid on top of one another. If you look at them, they're all following a pattern. It was really hard for us to do that. 4 or 5 guys pushing each one of them. Okay. So that's what the Mounties are, that's what we do. 1967, a big change in the Mounted Police. Even though we figured out in 1916 you cannot catch a darn thing on a horse, every Mountie up until 1967 was issued a horse. But at that time the government said this is way too expensive, we got to travel with them, these guys got to move with them, they can't catch a bad guy, so they took away our horses in 1967. But unlike when they changed the uniform or the job, they did not change our name. We are not called the Royal Canadian Dismounted Police. Yes? Okay, what happens in the Mounted Police, the question is, how come if I said they took away our horses? See, she's a doubting person, okay? If they took away our horses, how come there are still Mounties that are riding horses? Well, in the mounted police, there are several job careers or career streams you can take. One of the great jobs in the police force is called the musical ride. They take 32 young fellas, they take them to Ottawa, give them a red jacket, a spike, they give them a horse, and they teach them to ride, and then they go around the world riding a horse in a precision horse drill. Those are the only Mounties that ride horses. Yeah. Other than that, we do not ride horses. What's that?
The city then took over the horse?
Well, a lot of city forces have mounted police.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the city, most of the time, we are not the municipal, we're the federal police force. So we operate at the FBI level. The police force within the city would have its own mounted function. In a small town like Banff, because we don't have a need for a mounted police force, we don't have that. But we do have the musical ride as the traditional side of the Mounties. People, when they think of the Mounties, they think red jacket, black horse, and riding around catching bad guys. The catching the bad guys still exists. The red jacket and the horse is gone. Okay? Now, so they took away our horses. We're going to jump ahead to 1972 because it's a long night. You guys are getting tired and you think this guy will never shut up. In 1972, I wanted to be a mounted policeman. And actually, I wanted to do a lot of things. I just graduated university. I'm a zoology, biology type guy with a background, and some geology, just so you know I was on top of that one. At that time, I was looking for a job. I'd spent a year and a half or so wrestling bears, wolves, and cougars for movies. I used to wrestle them, train them, put them on the movie. If they didn't eat John Wayne, I had the job the next day. Like, it wasn't a good job, but it was a lot of fun. One of my buddies lost an eye, somebody else lost some fingers. I thought, this job has no long-term career prospects. I better try for something new. So I wrote a letter to a fellow named Jacques Cousteau. Anybody ever heard of Jacques? He's kind of a cool character. I wrote him a letter, said, I'm a nice Alberta kid, you should hire me. Jacques did not write back. I got no response from Jacques, but I also wrote a letter at that time to the mounted police, and they said, we'd like to talk to you. So they brought me in for an interview. In 1972, it took me 10 minutes of an interview, and they said, you cannot be a Mountie. You are not qualified. Now, what do you think would have stopped me being qualified as a Mountie? Any ideas? No ideas.
Nearsighted.
I could still shoot, I was good, okay? Anything else? What's that?
I see the cross.
Oh, yeah, the crowd, yeah, stop right on it.
You were
Go.
married.
What's that?
You were married.
Yes, you are right. In 1972, to be a mounted policeman, you had to be male. Genetically, I was on top of that one. That one was good. You had to be 5'8", 6'2". I'm 5'9" in socks. I had it covered. 19 to 63, the age was working, and you had to have grade 12. I thought I got 4 out of 5. They got to hire me. They asked me if I was married. I was. They did not hire married men. In 1972, to be a Mountie, you had to stay single for 5 years after you joined. I had trouble retaining and attracting young men. 1974, they changed it. I was hired as the second married man in the force, and also they invited females into the force, so 30% of the mounted police force is now women. Moving ahead to 72, everything good? Nobody has questions? Okay, we're going to move ahead. For the next 26 years, I moved my family around Canada 13 times in that time frame. When you join the mounted police, you say, I will go anywhere in Canada, they hold you to it. My wife and family developed a criteria for moves. If you move us to a town, it must have a school. That was good. It must have a hospital. I was happy in case I get shot, hospital's good for me. It must have shopping. That was not negotiable. I wish it was. And it must be on a map. Okay. The places I moved to were really small dots, but they're on maps. 2001, I posted in a town called Canmore, 20 miles that way. Beautiful location. My wife has built a bed and breakfast, so she's happy. She's got a business. She moved her mother right next to me, so I'm not that happy, but that's what I'm going to work with. Mounted police have offered me a transfer to Iqaluit. Does anybody know where Iqaluit is? That's what the wife said. I have no idea where Iqaluit is. Iqaluit is so far north that when you're looking out the window, the people walking by you, there's a good chance half of them are Russians. It's all way up there. I wanted to go. I got my 4 criteria, my transfer map, and I'm heading north. And I got to sell it to the wife. I get home to talk to her. She's sitting having tea with Mom there. She's there, table in front of her with a magazine, the National Geographic. Has anybody ever heard of that one? What do they have in there? Lots of pictures. Every picture is worth 1,000 words. I've got 4 points. She's got 82 pictures worth 1,000 words. So I'm telling you, you're going to love the shopping. Snow, buried houses, buried buildings. This wasn't working. You're going to love the scenery. Gray on top of gray on top of gray on top of ice. That wasn't cutting it. It's exceptional. take pictures of polar bears chasing people around cars. My wife said, Pat, you can go to Iqaluit, do not send laundry. So in the end, because I didn't take the transfer, and that's what we do in the mounted police, I decided to retire in 2001. I was very fortunate because the day after I retired, even though there was an economic downturn, I had a job. I am now second in charge of a two-person bed and breakfast operation. I am allowed to vacuum, and I serve breakfast. Now, I've had 26 years of practice with the breakfast. For 26 years, I would pick people up, I would give them a bed, I would give them a breakfast. In our present establishment, you also get a key, which is exceptional. So that's the history of the mounted police, a little bit what I do. Any questions? They're saying if you talk, if you pull a string, he will talk all night. Okay, just one final point then. For the 26 years as a policeman, I get invited to all kinds of events similar to this. Usually a group of people. Most of the places I go to, the windows are broken, somebody's bleeding, there's shots fired, and when I go through the door, everybody runs out. You people stayed, and I appreciate your patience. Please enjoy Canada. And now, who wants a photograph?